Thank you.
Várjál, csak ezt kell csak.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kevin Featherstone, and I'm a professor here at the LSE and head of the European Institute. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this lecture this evening. This lecture is part of our regular series on the perspectives on Europe's future. And I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Péter Szijjártó, the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade in the Hungarian government. Mr. Szijjártó has had a, let me say, meteoric political career. He was elected as the youngest member of parliament at the age of 23 in 2002. Increasingly in my job, the difficulty is that I'm introducing more and more senior people who are significantly younger than I am. But even on that basis, you're welcome. He is a long-term member of the Fidesz party and a former personal spokesman of the Prime Minister, Mr. Viktor Orbán. His topic tonight, a Hungarian perspective on the future of Europe, of course allows us to discuss a number of things. We might discuss Hungary's eastern opening, the response to the refugee crisis, the migration crisis. We might even discuss Brexit and the response of Europe to that possibility. The Minister has kindly agreed to speak for about 15 minutes or so that should leave us with plenty of time for questions and answers, and we will take those in the order that they come. So before we get to the discussion, can you please join me in welcoming our speaker this evening, the Foreign Minister of Hungary, Mr. Péter Szijjártó.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express how grateful I am for this invitation. Last time I had the chance to enter this room was 2011. I was sitting in the first row as the personal spokesman of the Prime Minister, who gave a lecture here, which was pretty exciting. Lecture was pretty exciting, but the questions were pretty exciting. And I hope for the same today. As we have a look at the developments surrounding us in Europe, or globally, I think it's time for exciting and honest discussions. Because I think when we face such kind of challenges and difficulties that we do currently, then honesty and being straightforward is the only way that makes sense to speak. Because there's too much hypocrisy around, and unfortunately there's too much hypocrisy in the European discussions and debates. And hypocrisy is one of the reasons why I think Europe has lost a big portion of her competitiveness. And hypocrisy is one of the reasons why we are not able to find common solutions to tackle common challenges. And maybe hypocrisy is a reason why those countries, governments, and persons are usually allocated and are usually under attack who name things as they are. Maybe it's easier to be hypocritical under such circumstances, but if we want to find solutions and if we want a better future, we rather be honest and we rather speak straightforward. As you may experience reading international press, we belong to that group of governments who rather use honest and straightforward speech. We have some troubles because of that. We had to take some heavy and serious attacks because of that. But still we survived, until now at least. And we are there and here in the meantime. Today, we have agreed that I would speak maybe shorter than it is expected, because I understand it is more exciting from your perspective to raise questions. And as I served 6 years as a spokesman, I enjoyed that part of the press conferences much better when I was asked, with a few exceptions. But maybe my, let's say, introduction, not even a lecture, my introduction would be about the sentence which used to be considered as an exaggeration, but I think currently it is not considered as that. And the sentence is that Europe has never had to face so many and so serious challenges at one time than currently. A couple months or years ago, that sentence maybe would have been an exaggeration. But currently, I think this is the right description of the European situation. And if we pose the question, which are these so serious and so many challenges that we have never had to face since the conclusion of the Second World War, then I would list 5 of these challenges, and if you don't mind, I just would like to make some remarks about them. First, there is a war in Ukraine, which means that there is war in Europe. And maybe a couple of years ago, no one of us could have imagined that there would be war again in our continent. Second is threat of terror. Again, a couple of years ago, when we watched news in television, and we watched the news from the Middle East, we were kind of saying that, okay, that can never happen in Europe. And this is not the case anymore. The third is energy security, which is a hot potato, at least in Central Europe, with no solution, but with some common position with the UK. The fourth one is economic challenges, which we have not overcome so far. And the fifth one is the most serious challenge ever European Union had to face, and this is the migration crisis. So if you allow me, first maybe I will deal with the easier ones, economic challenges. Here I just would like to give you 3 figures. European Union has a share like 7 or 8% of world's population, 7 or 8%. We produce 15 to 16% of global GDP. But in the meantime, we distribute 50% of the world's welfare social spending. And you do not need to be an economist to understand that it is unsustainable. If you have a look at the figures of state debts in the European Union, you can understand why they have been increasing if you put into consideration these 3 figures, 7 or 8% of world's population, 15 to 16% of global GDP, and 50% of world's social welfare spending. This is unsustainable. Second, regarding economy, Europe has been lagging behind in the global race between regional integrations, because it is very easy to see that the major players of global politics and global economy try to put together regional economic and trade integrations. And it's not competition or race of single countries anymore. It's a race between integrations. Like United States. United States succeeded to put together the Trans-Pacific Partnership. 12 member states, 40% of global GDP, 30% of world trade. We see China being very active when it comes to economic policy. We see the Arab countries being very active, looking for the leading role in Africa and even in the South American, the Latin American cooperation. And Europe is too much deep into their own problems, and we cannot look beyond and cannot think in a strategic way, because I think that in order to have a strong European Union, we need strategic partnerships. And that's why we are very disappointed with the TTIP negotiations not progressing. Because we understand there's a huge debate in Europe about TTIP. There's a huge debate in Hungary as well. Maybe I'm currently in minority who says that it can be favorable to Hungary and favorable to Europe. But for those ones who are at least ready to put into consideration whether it's going to be favorable or not, it would be helpful if we had some forward progress. But this is not the case, unfortunately. Europe was too slow on TTIP, and TPP has overtaken us. We have to admit. In the meantime, we were not able to build a strategic cooperation to our eastern neighborhood. And if you allow me, I will speak about Russia when it comes to the point of the war in Ukraine. But I just would like to raise here the issue that European Union has a program which is called Eastern Partnership. There are six countries involved. And now we can say that there's only one country which is not involved in any kind of territorial difficulties or other frozen conflict. It's only Belarus, by the way. It's only Belarus. And if you put into consideration the situation of Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, Azerbaijan, and Armenia, it is very easy to admit that we failed on Eastern Partnership because we missed giving positive feedbacks to some of these countries. Georgia is the #1 contributor to NATO actions when it comes to the non-NATO members. Georgia has made a lot in order to accelerate its European integration process. But still, we were always shy on giving positive feedbacks. And after a while, the public of these countries raised the question to the ruling pro-European governments, why you have been doing it? Why you have made so many decisions in favor of European integration and you didn't get any kind of positive feedback? So I think we were too shy on that, and that's why we have to say that our Eastern Partnership policy is much less successful than it could be. So this is about economy. Second, energy security. You know, the Central European region is dependent on Russian gas and partly Russian oil. Maybe this is something that cannot be understood on a European level, but this is the case. 85% of Hungary's gas demand is being supplied by Russia. Almost 100% of our oil demand is being supplied by Russia. And there are countries in Central Europe who even have higher figures. I mean, not higher than 100%, but higher than the 85, you know? There are countries which are even more dependent than we are. And when it comes to the question whether we are allowed to have a pragmatic cooperation, a pragmatic dialogue with Russia, or why we meet the president of Russia, then when we pose the counter question, could you please give an advice how we can ensure the energy security of our country without Russian resources? There's no answer. Because in this case, we are facing double standards. A couple years ago, or even like 1.5 years ago, Project South Stream, maybe it sounds familiar, Project South Stream had to be cancelled because the European Commission and some other friends of ours put pressure on the member states which would have been involved, saying that this is against European values because this bypasses Ukraine and this is based on a political agreement and not an economically feasible one, although it was a matter of agreement between companies and not countries. Okay. A couple of months ago, there was an agreement made by Gazprom, E.ON, Shell, OMV, and maybe even a French company, about doubling the capacities of Nord Stream. And there's silence, like in the room now. There's no pressure on these countries and these companies to make up their mind. Stream and stream, bypassing Ukraine both. One is north, one is south. In one project, there are West European companies. The other one, East European companies. This is the only difference. And when it comes to the question whether we should have a pragmatic discussion to Russia or not, then I can put the other question on the table, how we can solve our energy security if there's no European solution. And then, we made an agreement with Russia about a nuclear power station in Hungary. And I understand it was kind of widely published in Western media, painting Hungary as someone who is breaking European values and European unity. But, the thing is that we made the business of the century in this respect. Because we have, there's 43% of Hungarian electricity needs being supplied by nuclear, and we would like to upgrade it to 60, 70%. Therefore, we need new reactors. And the old reactors were built by the former Soviet Union, so coupling it with another kind of technology that would raise some concerns. But in the meantime, Russia was ready to provide the loan, provide financing. No one else was ready to provide financing for that. So, and when it comes to nuclear, I think it's very, very important that if we don't have a European solution how to solve the energy security of Central Europe, then at least let the Central European countries put together their energy mixes on their own. And here I totally, here we totally agree with the UK government. UK government is pro-nuclear as well. It's Hinkley Point C. And we think that that European regulation should not put nuclear energy into an unfavorable position. So this is energy security. Then we have the war in Ukraine. We are a neighboring country to Ukraine. There's a Hungarian community of 150,000 people in Ukraine. So if there is a country on the globe which is interested in having peace in Ukraine, if there's a country on the globe which is interested in having a politically and economically strong, territorially integrated and sovereign Ukraine, then this is Hungary for sure. We need Ukraine to be strong. We need a strong neighboring Ukraine. And we totally subscribe to the common European position that full implementation of the Minsk agreement is what we have to reach. But here's another question. Whether it is necessary to have a pragmatic discussion with Russia or not. And my answer is clearly yes. We need a pragmatic cooperation and a pragmatic dialogue with Russia based on mutual respect towards each other and towards international law, of course. But we need a pragmatic discussion. Because without a pragmatic discussion with Russia, I think Europe is not going to be able to gain back at least part of the lost competitiveness. With losing the chance to build a cooperation once in the future between European Union and Eurasian Economic Union, without the chance for that, we will not gain back our competitiveness. And I understand that it's an issue which is debated very widely and sometimes very emotionally in Europe. But our position is that making it clear that we stick ourselves to common European decisions. We should be, let's say, fair towards those ones as well who are bearing the most burden of common decisions. What I mean? We always stick to the common decisions. We will never break, and we have never broken unity of European Union. But Hungarian economy lost $4.5 billion of export in the last 2 years. And we think that if we speak about solidarity in European Union, then solidarity should contain putting into consideration, or at least recognize, that common decisions have different impacts on different member states. That's all what we would like to ask for, to recognize at least that it has different impacts. And we can ask the question whether, what is the interest of Europe regarding sanctions? I can say that sanctions caused a lot of damage to Russian economy. Well, that's true. Not only sanctions caused damage to Russian economy, by the way, oil price, currency rate, but sanctions were there as well. But did sanctions cause serious difficulties and damages to European economies? The answer is yes as well. They did. And I think the interest of European Union would be to end this conflict as soon as possible, to push all sides, and I want to underline all sides, to implement all necessary steps in order to comply with the Minsk regulations, and afterwards lift the sanctions. This is the interest of Europe, and we have to be brave enough to speak about that. And now regarding the migration issue, if you allow me, and I try to be brief as I promised to you. Maybe I'm already longer than the 15 minutes, I'm sorry for that. So migration. You know, I think this is the most serious challenge of European Union has ever had to face since the foundation. And here, hypocrisy starts with the naming, with the name, with how we call it, sorry. Because it is usually referred to as refugee crisis, which is, I want to make sure you to understand, it's not the case. It's not a refugee crisis. This is a migration crisis, which means totally different. Because there are totally different international obligations and international agreements which refer to how you have to treat refugees and how you have to treat migrants. Because Hungary is located, used to be located, on the Western Balkan migration route. There were days when we had even 10,000 migrants entering the territory of Hungary. And we always pose the question, can someone be a refugee who comes to Hungary from Serbia? Is anyone's life in danger in Serbia? Or maybe I can pose the question, if someone leaves Croatia for Slovenia, can he or she be considered as a refugee? Because whose life is in danger in Croatia? No one's. Or when someone leaves Austria for Germany, can we consider him or her as a refugee? I would say no. Because if people are forced to leave their homes, for example, from Syria, let's put it this way. If someone is fleeing from Syria, he or she is a refugee to Jordan, Lebanon, Turkey, and Iraqi Kurdistan. But I think it is the right question to ask whether if someone leaves Turkey and arrives in Greece and leaves Greece for Macedonia and leaves Macedonia for Serbia, is he or she a refugee or not? Because we think is not anymore. It's migration. Because it is a basic human right. I mean, right for life is a basic human right. But right to choose which country you want to live in is not a basic human right. And, you know, I think we need two things to agree on if we really want to find a solution to this whole issue. The first is that the solution of this migration crisis is not within the territory of European Union. The solution of this crisis is outside of the territory of European Union. Because we have to solve those conflicts which force people to leave their homes. We have to solve the Syria crisis. We have to solve the Libya crisis. We have to solve the Yemen crisis. We have to be more successful against ISIS. We have to run successful development programs in countries where poverty is very heavily there. Because just put into consideration, Syria, there are 13.5 million people living on humanitarian aid. There are 4.6 million refugees living in the countries around Syria. There are at least 13 million IDPs in the sub-Saharan region. And I didn't speak about Pakistan, Afghanistan, and all the others. There are 30 to 35 million people living in the southern and southeastern neighborhood of European Union who can easily make a decision to hit the road. And if they make a decision to hit the road, they hit the road towards Europe. A couple of months ago when I said this in an international interview, I was laughed at by the Hungarian media and Hungarian opposition. And currently, this is a modest evaluation. It's a modest evaluation. So we have to solve those conflicts which are the root causes of migration. This is number one. And number two, we have to stop being defenseless. Because currently, Europe is defenseless. Because we are not able to control the influx. There's, depending on the days, there's 2, 3, 5, 8,000 irregular migrants entering the territory of the European Union, most of them unchecked, uncontrolled, unregulated. We don't know who they are, where they come from. And this makes us defenseless. Because if you don't have the ability to control who enters your territory, and if you don't have the ability to make your decision on your own, whom you let into the territory of your country and whom you do not let in, that's a matter of sovereignty. And that's why we think that we have to stop being defenseless. How we make it? It sounds simple, but it's very complicated to execute. Because if everyone complied with the Schengen obligations, we would not be defenseless. But this is not the situation currently. There are member states who do not comply with the Schengen regulations. It's so simple. Hungary was bashed, attacked, allocated, whatever, because we built a fence on our southern and southern border. But may I pose the question? Does anyone know what is written in the Schengen Code? What is the obligation of a member state which is located at the external border? Schengen Code says that if you are located on the external border of the zone, you have a clear obligation to make it sure that your border is gonna only be crossed through the official border crossing points during opening hours. Is that sophisticated? And we asked European institutions whether we have to comply with these regulations under crisis times or we got some exemption. And they said, no, you have to comply. Okay, we built a fence because you cannot defend such a long border, which is total land, mainly no natural obstacles. You cannot comply with Schengen regulation anyhow else. And when my fellow foreign ministers put this issue on the table on the meetings that, hey, look, Peter, you built a fence on the border of Hungary, so horroristic. And I ask, okay, but can you give me an alternative solution how we have to comply with the regulations which you said we have to comply with? Oh, but no. So that's why I say we have to be honest and we have to be straightforward. And as I said, we are defenseless. How we should be not defenseless? Complying with the Schengen regulations. And if there's a member state which does not comply with the Schengen regulations, then we have to look for an alternative solution. And the alternative solution says Macedonian, Bulgarian defense line in south. And this is a strange situation because we would rely on two countries out of which one is not member of European Union and the other is not member of Schengen zone. But crisis times can bring crazy and strange situations. We have to build a second defense line, because if we don't build a second defense line, we will be in trouble. And I, of course, I don't criticize and don't bash Greece, because I really respect Greece and the Greek people. And I have to admit that, that protecting that Schengen border is very, very complicated, because it's long, it's maritime, there are islands. But none of them, or speak on my behalf, I'm not an expert on border control issues, but there are people who are having salary for that, being experts on border control. They should put together a package. What we need in order to defend that border. How many troops, how many policemen, how many ships, how many helicopters, whatever. And then there, we would support to have an obligatory quota. 28 member states put together a joint European force to protect the southern border of Greece. Because there, I think, obligatory quota would work. Where obligatory quota does not work for sure, that's based on the decision of the interior ministers, who said that there should be an obligatory quota of relocation. Now, that is totally against common sense, against European regulations, and this is totally unimplementable. Because at the end, whoever is going to be relocated in Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, you can be sure they will leave for Germany the next morning. and you will not be able to put an obstacle. You cannot put a signal on the Hungarian-Austrian border saying that it's free crossing except for relocated Syrians. So just to understand that the decisions we make on European level, when it comes to implementation, they are impossible. So these are the 5 most serious challenges about which I spoke much more than 15 minutes, for which I really do apologize, and I really look forward to receive some questions from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Minister, very much indeed, and we'll indulge you for the extra 10 minutes.
Okay.
Sorry.
I take the penalty, whatever
But
it is.
we do have about 30 minutes for questions and answers, so could I emphasize that we're inviting questions, not speeches, please? Could you please simply, very briefly identify who you are? There are colleagues with microphones, and with the Minister's permission, I'm going to take 3 questions at a time, and we'll try to get through as many as possible in the 30 minutes that we have. We'll take a question from the gentleman here. Can you wait for the microphone, please?
Thank you. I'm Gabriel Partas from the Economist Intelligence Unit, and thank you very much, Minister, for an excellent presentation, which raises many questions. But I would like to ask you about a topic that you have not touched on, and that is, what is Hungary's approach to the negotiations currently ongoing between Britain and the EU about Britain's relationship? Will Hungary be coordinating with its neighbours in the Visegrad group? And finally, how important is Britain economically, in particular in the view of the large number of Hungarians who work in this country? How important is Britain staying in Europe for Hungary?
Okay, good, thank you. Can I take the gentleman in the middle, please? Yes. Oh, okay. Go ahead, and then we'll come to you.
Apologies.
Go ahead.
Craig Woodhouse from The Sun, also to build on that question, to get your views, if possible, on the deal as was proposed by Donald Tusk. Does it look acceptable to Hungary? Is there anything in it that Hungary doesn't think is acceptable? And are you prepared to accept some of these things being enshrined in treaty change?
Okay, good. We're probably going to be able to move on from Brexit. I'm sure we have other questions. The gentleman in the light blue shirt, please.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Aaron Kerpel. I come from Hungary, so jó estét kívánok, miniszterelnök úrnak. I would just like to get back to the nuclear reactor, the deal with Russia. You said this was the deal of the century, and I just want to ask why the details of the deal haven't been made public to the Hungarian people, as to those who know how tender procedures look like in Hungary and about the money involved in this deal. I think it would be quite important to make this deal public. So I would just ask you about that.
Okay. 2 questions on Brexit and 1 on the nuclear deal.
Nuclear,
with Russia.
yeah. That's,
Do you want to just
I should.
I
Okay,
think so.
sorry. Okay. It's not taken as a signal of no respect, right? Okay.
No.
Thank you. Regarding the ongoing debate in Britain, we take this question seriously. And since we received the letter of the President of European Council just yesterday or day before yesterday, I can give you a modest opinion, putting into consideration that yesterday I had the visit of the Polish Foreign Minister in Hungary. Tomorrow there's the visit of your Prime Minister, I mean, if there are British in the room, so the British Prime Minister to Warsaw. And on Monday, we have the visit of the Polish Prime Minister to Hungary. And on 15th of February, we have the V4 summit. But what I can tell you, we have 3 principles here. Principle number 1, European Union needs United Kingdom. Without United Kingdom, European Union would be much weaker. So our interest is to keep you in. Second principle, we would like to reach a joint Visegrad position, which time will tell, next days will tell whether we are able to do so or not. And the third one is that we have to represent and protect the interest of the hardworking Hungarian people in the United Kingdom. So these are the 3 principles. Now, as a consequence of that, I would like to tell you 5 short details. First, we agree with the government of the United Kingdom that the role of national parliaments should be strengthened. Second, we agree with the government of United Kingdom that national economic policies should aim more competitiveness and less bureaucracy. Number three, we agree that not only the Eurozone member states, rather than the non-Eurozone member states should feel comfortable in the European Union. Number four, a strong European Union can only be based on strong member states. I think that's so simple. That's why we reject all kinds of approaches which say that the weaker the member states are, the stronger the European Union is. We don't accept that. The stronger the member states are, the stronger the European Union is. I mean, we are in England, maybe I can afford myself, but 11 bad football players will never make up a champion team in the Premier League, right? We need 11 good football players to have a good football team. We need 28 strong member states to have a strong European Union. And the fifth issue is the social benefits and the social rights in Britain. You know, according to the British statistics, okay, I try to refer to that. According to British statistics, we have 55,000 Hungarians working in Great Britain, in the UK. It's based on UK official statistics. I don't want to comment. There are much more Germans and much more Polish, for example. But we do know, we have here two principles. Number one, we respect the right of each country to cut the possibilities to abuse its social system. But in the meantime, second principle, we don't accept discriminative regulations. And as it is stated in the letter of the President of the European Council, if I understood correctly, there would be an interim possibility to limit the access to social systems, to the social benefits. We should examine whether it ends up in a discriminative regulation or not, and whether it hurts the basic achievement and principle of free movement of people. So here I'm not in a position, unfortunately, to occupy a final position. We should wait a couple of days because we have to take it serious. It's a very serious issue because, you know, future membership of UK is one of the most serious issues we ever had to deal with in the European Union. So after Monday, we will be a little bit wiser and smarter. And regarding the nuclear power plant, because I was so smart to put together the first two questions. Regarding the nuclear power plant, on the question of our Hungarian friend.
Publishing the details.
Yeah, publishing the details. You know, Hungarian parliament has voted into act the intergovernmental agreement about the construction and the financial agreement as well, in an open debate. So it is public. There was an open debate in Hungarian parliament about the two agreements, and they were voted into act by the parliament. Of course, there are details which we cannot publish because we are not building a grocery store. We are building a nuclear power plant, which is a national security issue. So we have to accept that there are certain details which cannot be, you know, published. We can have a debate whether it's good or not. We can have a debate whether there are too many details not being published or not. But we should accept one thing, that this is a national security issue and this is it's safety. So that's the reason why you may have some hiányérzet that yeah, feel lack of information in English. Thank you. But this is a serious issue again. You know, it was published how much it costs. It was published who provides the money. Conditions of the loan were published. There were plenty of public hearings, even international ones. So I think that what can be published about such an establishment and such an investment was published.
Okay, good. More questions, please. Can we take the lady at the very back in the red, I think? Can you just wait for the microphone? We can't hear you otherwise.
Thank you. Patricia Rawlings, former LSE student. Foreign Minister, thank you very much for all of that. I wondered if I could ask you what is Hungary's position on future enlargement of the European Union, and perhaps you might comment on ever closer union.
No comments for that. Actually, you got the question. There's lots of people who want to ask questions. That's good. Can we take the guy in the middle in the blue shirt, blue jumper? Yeah, that's you. If you wait for the...
We need such kind of moderator for a press conference, you know?
Okay.
I'm a student here. So I would like to have a question about your definition of who is and who isn't a refugee. So as many of us probably know, in 1956, hundreds of thousands of Hungarians fled through Austria to the west, were afraid of Soviet persecution. So based on your definition of who a refugee is, like the 1956 Hungarian refugee who, hypothetical refugee, crosses to Austria to avoid persecution and then is accepted in the US as a refugee, is no longer a refugee after, let's say when he arrives to the US, he's no longer a refugee, he's only a refugee as long as he's in Austria, and Austria is the only country that should deal with that situation.
Okay, we get the question. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we can take this last one for the moment here. Yep.
Thank you. John Ewan. My question really is more on economics. You acknowledged that is the relationship you have with Russia with respect to the gas industry. My point is Hungary better off outside the euro? The Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, said quite clearly we're not going to join the euro, but I gather when you signed up to the European Union, you were rather more handcuffed than we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all three questions. Very exciting. Enlargement. We are very, very pro-enlargement country. We are a really great fan of enlargement. Because I think that the more we are, the stronger we are. So that's one of the reasons why we don't want to lose UK, because then we would be less, you know. So that's why...
Sorry, can I just ask, does that include Turkey?
Is it legal that you pose questions from here?
Okay, it's the LSE, that's why.
Yeah. Okay. You are the host, I mean, you can do everything, of course. Sorry. Okay, so enlargement. That's why we were pushing so hard Croatia to become member during our presidency. And that's why we are pushing so hard Serbia currently, because we think that Serbia really deserves membership. That's why we push Montenegro. We push their NATO membership, by the way, as well. But now, if we speak about EU, we push Montenegro's membership as well. And, of course, we push the membership of Macedonia, because I think it's totally unacceptable that regardless of the Commission's 6 or 7 continuous proposal, the accession talks have not been started yet. Well, with Turkey, that's a strategic question. That's a strategic question. We have to see how the negotiations about the chapters will go on. And I think there will be a very important test here, how this €3 billion issue will work out. Whether we can cooperate on protecting Europe, actually, or not. Regarding 1956, that's a very, very interesting question. Thank you for posing it in a fair manner, because usually whoever raises this issue puts it in a much more emotional way and puts the answer into the question as well. So, you know, there's a huge difference. And I try to be pragmatic and not emotional. There's a huge difference. When the Soviets occupied Hungary, then you know, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people left Hungary, and those people was fleeing to Austria. And in Austria, they were waiting peacefully in the camps which were assigned for them to wait there, until other countries showed readiness to accept them as refugees. These people were waiting months and sometimes years, peacefully, patiently, respecting the law of the host country in Austria. But this is not the case with the current migration crisis. I think it's not normal that if there are thousands who want to go from point A to point B, they feel free to cross borders as they just want to. We don't think it would be normal that you, as a citizen who respect law, you wait like half an hour on a queue in an airport to present your passport to enter territory of a country respecting the laws. And those ones who are not respecting the laws and would like to cross borders just as they just want, they go crazy because they have to wait, or they are crazy because they have to go through procedures. The problem is, I mean, the situation is that if you enter a territory of a country or a community like European Union, you have to respect the laws and you have to act according to procedures. And after a while, most of the migrants refused to cooperate with the national authorities, refused to respect our laws, and refused to act and behave according to laws and regulations of our country. You know, it's not normal that a group of hundreds of migrants start to throw stones on the Hungarian police from a territory of another country just because they are not let in. We will never let in such kind of people in our country who attack policemen just because they want to come in, you know? And it's not normal that leading politicians of the world make statements that it's unacceptable that Hungarian police used water cannons and tear gas after being under attack by stones and pieces of concrete for an hour. Is it really the way we should think, that it is acceptable that if you are not let in a country, you start to attack the policemen throwing stones and wounding, I think, 14 or 15 Hungarian policemen? So this is a real significant difference, that all Hungarians who had to leave Hungary in 1956 respected the law of the country where they entered. They waited peacefully and patiently in refugee camps until other countries showed readiness to have them. That's the difference according to my understanding. Regarding the Eurozone issue, you know, we have changed our constitution in 2011. That was a huge debate. We were attacked because why we have to change constitution in the 21st century. No one spoke about the fact that we were the only country in Central Europe which was not able to change her constitution since the transition. We were the only country. So we had an ex-communist constitution which started to declare about itself that it is interim or temporary. So we had to change it, definitely. And we were attacked because this constitution is saying that we are proud to be Hungarian, we are proud to be patriotic, we are proud to be Christian, we are proud to have a history, and we are proud to have heritage. But in the meantime, in this constitution, it says that the national currency of Hungary is a forint. And in order to change that, you need a two-thirds majority. That's my answer.
Good, thanks. Let's take some questions over here. Can we take the gentleman there with the beard?
Hi. My name is Angelos Chrysoilos. I work at the Hellenic Observatory of the LSE. There have been reports that Hungary is assisting with border guards Macedonia, also the Czech Republic and Slovakia. There have even been reports that Mr. Orban has supplied the sticks and the barbed wire to Macedonia and Bulgaria to start building the fence.
Sorry, what is Mr. Orban is?
Sticks and barbed wire.
You have started providing the material to Bulgaria and Macedonia to start building fences on the borders to Greece. Does Hungary want Greece in the Schengen?
Okay, good, thanks. Here, please.
András Radnóti, student at LSE. Just two short questions. One, your Prime Minister said that he was building in a liberal democracy in Hungary and pointed to Mr. Erdogan and Mr. Putin as role models. What do you have to say about that? Two, what do you say about the recent allegations that the Export-Import Bank, which is under your ministry, has been financing projects of investors who are not involved in export-import activity but are close to government circles? Thank you.
Okay. We've only had one question from... Yes, can we have the lady over here, please?
My name is Aurelia Holzmann. I'm from Germany, and I have a question concerning the refugee crisis. Don't you think that the Hungarians in 1956 were just lucky to have Austria as their neighbor country? I have talked to a lot of people who have spent a lot of years in Jordan before they actually decided to come to Europe under very bad circumstances. So don't you think it was just luck that you had Austria as your neighbor?
Okay, thanks. I think there's actually about 4 questions there, I'm afraid.
Oh, no problem. you put a question as well, so that was 4 in the last round as well. I got used to it. Okay, the question of the gentleman regarding our assistance. You know, we are still thankful to our Visegrad friends, Poland, Czech Republic and Slovakia, because they provided us with assistance when we were struggling with protecting our southern border. So at the second half of last year, we were able to protect our southern border with their assistance. They sent equipment, staff, and that was really helpful. So we made the same. When Slovenia asked for assistance, we immediately sent policemen there. We have something around 100 policemen currently serving in Slovenia to defend to help to protect the Slovenian and Croatian border. And we sent policemen to Macedonia as well, as they asked for it. And as we were thankful to be assisted, I think it's a normal way to do it as well. Whether we helped with fence as well, yes, we did, because we were asked for. We did, because you cannot protect a border which is flat without natural obstacles in case of such a pressure than with a physical obstacle. That's so simple. We haven't built a fence on our border because it was fun or because of hobby. No one likes building fences on the border. Why we build a fence? Because under such kind of crisis circumstances and such kind of pressure, you are not able to comply with your obligations in another way. Regarding Greece and Schengen, you know, I think it's obvious. If you belong to a community, you have to respect the regulations and you have to fulfill your obligations. It can happen that because of external reasons, you are not in a position to do so. Like, once again, I want to say that Greece is not able to protect properly the southern border of the country, and not because they don't want to, not because they don't have the intention, not because they have another kind of way of thinking, because it's so complicated that one country cannot make it. But then if this is the case, and Greece wants to comply with the Schengen regulations, why was not our proposal being put on the agenda for weeks, for months, which said that let's put together a joint European Union force? You know, and it's always about Frontex, but come on, Frontex is a group of officers. They can take fingerprint, but they cannot protect the border. It's not Frontex officers we need, it's real border patrol and border control personnel we need. So my question to your pretty direct answer is that if you want to be a member of community, you have to fulfill your obligations. You have to comply your obligations. Okay, regarding the speech of the Prime Minister in 2014 summer or 2013, you know, I think if you want to have a fair discussion about that, first of all, both of us should read the text. I did. Okay. If you did, then you wouldn't say that he put the Russian and the Turkish president as an example to ourselves. What he was speaking about, that there are successful countries, successful societies, which are not following the same patterns as we do. And I don't think you can debate with this sentence. There are successful countries, successful societies in a way which are not following our patterns. Regarding illiberal democracy, what he said was the following. There are dogmas which were kind of overcome by the time. And these dogmas are called, for some reason, liberal dogmas. I give you an example. Like, state is a bad owner and should not be involved in economy in this way. We think it's not true. We think current challenging times have shown that state can be a good owner, and sometimes there must be a state ownership in strategic fields of economy in order to be on the safe side when it comes to national security. Or the second one, whether state can have a role
in job creation or not. You know, liberal dogma says that state has nothing to do with that. We say time has overcome that. And yes, there can be a situation where state should have a role in job creation. For example, in Hungary, like, you know, we cut unemployment aid period to 3 months. And after 3 months, if you didn't find a job, you will be offered a public job for which the salary is higher than the unemployment aid, but of course lower than the minimum wage you can reach on the market. And if you refuse that, you will not get any kind of aid. So we think that yes, state does or can have a role. So in this term, if you wish, if you overcome liberal dogmas, you can be called illiberal, but not illiberal in the meaning that you neglect liberal values. That's the case. That's what he said. And you know, I know it's freedom of speech, freedom of thought, so you can translate the thoughts of the Prime Minister as you want. I cannot you know, hinder that, but this is what we mean. And you know, it was quite strange to me that the Prime Minister was allegated by not being a Democrat or being illiberal, as putting into consideration that he has been a freedom fighter, and he had a very, very serious role in the transition, in changing communism to democracy in Hungary. And allegating such a person with not being democratic, and it's ridiculous from my perspective. Regarding Exim Bank, thank you for the professional question. Finally, you know, it's that's how the operation of a small country's Exim Bank can come to such a world stage, you know.
Absolutely. Can I just clarify? So you're saying that he was indicating that the dogma of economic liberalism is out of date or out of synchronization with current conditions, but he was defending political liberalism.
He said that there are dogmas which have been overcome, and they are said to be liberal, and in this case, if you wish, we can call the way we think illiberal. That's what he said. Exim Bank. You know, maybe you are not quite aware of the legislation in Hungary regarding Exim Bank, but there was an amendment of a law about Exim Bank voted into an act by the parliament in 2013, coming into power 1st of January 2014, when I was not a foreign minister and I was not supervising Exim Bank, saying that Exim Bank has a new portfolio as well. Next to financing export and import transactions, Exim has a portfolio to finance Hungarian companies' investments to be more competitive, to increase competitiveness. And you know, there's nothing written in the regulation that if you know the Prime Minister, you are not allowed to have a loan. This is not written there. For me, it doesn't matter who gets the loan or who does not get the loan. I could list you now companies which I'm not going to do, which I know pretty well, being in very close relationship with the former socialist governments. I mean, the leaders being in very, very close connection. I don't care. If they comply with the conditions, they get the loan. Why not? You know, there's the former Minister of Economy of Hungary, who is a real, now he's a real liberal. He's a leader of the Liberal Party. He was the leader of the Liberal Party. He was the coalition partner for the socialists. And he asked me for help to promote the products of his company because he went to business. I said, yeah, why not? Why not? I instructed our ambassadors in the region where he is interested to promote the products of that company because I don't care where he's coming, which party he's coming from. It's a Hungarian success. I'm not a communist. I don't envy success. You know, it doesn't matter for me. Hungarian success. I'm a minister of external economic relations. My success is being measured whether I could increase export or not. So why should I care which party is coming from? It's export. So that's it. Having Syria as a Syria and the neighboring countries, You know, maybe there was too short time, so I could not speak about the whole range of our proposals, which we have put on the table when the debate was about how to solve the migration crisis and how to treat properly those people who had to leave their home country. Because we were the first ones to put the proposal on the table, saying that EU should take over, or at least should take a big portion of the finances of the refugee camps in the neighboring countries of Syria in order to make such living conditions which are kind of human, We were the first ones, and unfortunately, this proposal of ours was not taken seriously for a while. After then, the Turkey deal has grown out of this, but our approach is that we have to support 4 countries. And here I want to make sure that not to speak about 3 countries, because usually, I don't know why, we speak only about Turkey, Jordan, and Lebanon, but no one speaks about Iraqi Kurdistan. Iraqi Kurdistan hosts 1.5 million, almost 2 million refugees. Among them, there are like 300,000 Syrians, and the others are IDPs from other parts of Iraq. So we should speak about Iraqi Kurdistan as well. And our proposal is to help those countries in a way that they can ensure human conditions to people to stay there. That was part of our proposal as well, and I think that's correct that way.
Okay, I'm afraid we need to bring things to a halt. The Minister needs to go and do a TV interview where obviously the questions are going to be less interesting than the ones that you've just given to him.
And less people will watch.
Can I ask you please just to remain in your seats for a moment, please? Can you just remain in your seat? It's not an intelligence test. Can you just remain in your seat? Thank you. Can you join me in thanking the Minister? And can you remain in your seats whilst the Minister exits for the TV interview, please? So thank you very much indeed for coming.